I'm not going to do an $80,000 renovation if my ARV is going to be around 300,000 unless I'm getting a killer deal. It really just goes back to knowing your numbers and working those numbers before you're putting in the offer.
Okay, so I had a fantastic interview with a rock star named Kara Beckman. Kara is a real estate investor, entrepreneur, and designer. She's done everything from construction to fix and flips to buy and hold. We talked about how she moved from retail to a real estate investor, the different strategies she uses, and generally all things real estate investing. Anyways, here's a little snippet of that conversation. And if you're interested in hearing the full interview, you can go to the Working Capital Real Estate Podcast. That's on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play. It's out there. Anyways, enjoy. So if you were to walk us through an ideal deal for you, so say if we keep on that tangent with a fix and flip, if you were to identify a property today, what would be kind of the nuts to soup kind of journey that you'd go through on it?
Well, some of my best flips have been presented to me by wholesalers. So they're wholesalers that I've worked with in the past. They know exactly what I'm looking for. They know my price per square foot that I'm comfortable entering in at. And with a wholesaler, they're giving you a price and it's take it or leave it. So there's no negotiation. So basically, I have to know my numbers really, really well. And on 3 of my wholesale deals, I've had a 30% cash on cash return. So I run those numbers really fast. They're fantastic deals. I'm entering really low, below market value. I'm very tight on my rehabs. So if I can keep those rehabs right on track, I know what my ARV is going to be, and walking away with a fantastic profit. So that's another reason why I really like staying in the same neighborhood, because I can run my numbers really fast and I know the buyer, I know the style. So it kind of makes it a little bit easier.
So for the listeners, if you could define two things there, the ARV and also wholesaling, because I think some people kind of have an understanding of what that is, but not entirely.
Sure. So the ARV is your after renovation value. So I try to make all of my flips still have a very custom feel, but I have to make sure that I'm renovating, only so much where I'm not over renovating, because that house at the end of the day has to appraise for my after renovation value. So your ARV is important, and I would make sure you know your projected ARV before you're even setting budgets, and making sure that, you have some leeway, even if your after renovation value comes in lower than you expect. So you have, kind of that buffer. And then for a wholesaler, so basically I don't know if they're actually, I think they're agents, right? They're real estate agents.
Yeah. I mean, oftentimes they're agents. And I think the confusion for some people is, you hear assigners, assignments, wholesaling, but I've seen agents or investors on the wholesaling front. I'm assuming it's similar in your area that it is in ours, and that, they're trying to find a property very under market so that they can make that delta and still give you a property that seems to be under market for your purchase. Is that what you see?
Yeah, basically. So they're essentially putting it under contract with the owner of the property. And then the same day that I'm taking possession, that title's getting switched. Yeah. So the wholesaler is making an assignment fee. It can range, based on your area, can range a lot. And, I'm always comfortable with paying them the assignment fee because I'm still getting it for significantly less than I would if I went direct in some cases.
I'm always curious when it comes to, renovations and flipping. You mentioned briefly that you don't over renovate. And I've heard this before, people doing lipstick renovations or doing just kind of a light renovation, or trying to find that sweet spot of renovation that you're not paying too much for it. How does that calculation go on when you're looking at a deal?
That's a really good question. I don't usually do lipstick flips. I mean, I'm really doing things that are, again, I just want it to feel custom when you walk in. So I'm doing a lot of special things, but I think that's where you have to be creative. You have to know where to shop to keep your costs low. If I can build things on site, that's going to be cheaper for me than buying it, usually pre-made. So, And it also has to do with the price point. So I'm not going to do an $80,000 renovation if my ARV is going to be around 300,000 unless I'm getting a killer deal. So I think it really just goes back to knowing your numbers and working those numbers before you're putting in the offer. I always work my numbers backwards, starting with my after renovation value. And that's something for me, the more flips that I've done, the more I can hone in on my budget. And now I pretty much have, based on my selections, based on my labor costs, I basically know what my price per square foot is to renovate in these areas.
In terms of timing, I'm sure every deal is unique, as is most of real estate, but is there an ideal time for you to do renovations, market the property, sell the property? Is there kind of a sweet spot in that as well?
Yeah, I mean, timing is everything. I think for us, usually if I get a house on the market early January, February, March, those are fantastic times for us to sell in Arizona because we have a lot of visitors. So maybe in Toronto, Canada, I don't know if that would be the best.
not so much.
But yeah, anytime when our weather's good, we have a lot of snowbirds, we call them, that come here, and just a lot of tourists.
Another thing for kind of the assignment, wholesaling, and flipping, it's a different type of income, right? Because you're running a business. So is there anything that you would tell somebody that's looking to get into flipping that, you know, there's a common misunderstanding of?
Well, I have two separate companies as far as legal is concerned. So I'll have my fix and flip business, and then I also have a design business. So those are separate entities for tax purposes. As far as capital gains tax, it's not considered capital gains, but it is considered, I believe it's a primary or a personal income tax. So I'm still paying 24% tax on these gains. So, you know, you do have to be mindful of that at the end of the year if you're choosing to pay it all at once, or you can choose to pay quarterly taxes, because that really will hit you pretty hard at the end of the year. So that was one of a few reasons why I chose to start getting into buy and hold properties, to offset those really big taxes at the end of the year.
In terms of financing for these projects, is it, are you raising capital for these deals? Are you using your capital? Like we always say, it's really a matter of time. Once you start running out of money, that you have to start raising it. But how does that work on your projects?
Yeah, I fund my projects a lot of different ways. And that's something that I've really learned this past year, that I can only do so many projects at a time if I'm using my own money. So I have brought in other partners. A lot of them are private money lenders. So these are people that I know. So I'm getting a very low interest rate for the money, and I'm not paying them until the property is sold. So kind of like a balloon interest payment. On one deal that I'm currently in, I did bring in an outside investor, and the deal was I found the property. I'll do everything that I normally do for the renovation, do the full design. I'll bring in my contractors, and then you fund the deal and we'll do a 50-50 split.